Well, welcome. This is day 14 of MOvember, and I'm putting another video together. And tonight I just want to go over Pia Mellodys' reality model and how it can help us understand the lived experience. And also I want to add in this video where the different treatments can be complementary and how I would use them in counselling and how I think they could be helpful in your recovery. So Pia largely said that in regards to reparenting ourselves to overcome developmental childhood trauma, that we're responsible for creating inherent worth now in our adult life, for setting up adult boundaries, and you can't set adult boundaries if you don't know your reality. So she broke down the reality into four major parts of our experience: our body and everything that involves the embodied brain, all of our musculature, skeletal system, all of our organs, our cardiovascular system, every bit of every part of our nervous systems that give us information. The triune brain, the Homo sapien experience where we have that executive frontal cortex, executive thinking, the limbic system that we share with other mammals, and our reptilian system that really keeps our the basic unconscious parts of us that keep us alive. With that, she says, then there's our conscious mind and how we interpret data, the software that's largely developed through all of our life experience, certainly our developmental experience, the first childhood of 0 to 7 and the 7 to 17, the core beliefs that we get about life and the beliefs that we have about things outside of us and things inside of us, and all that combined life experience leads to an assigned meaning. Now that meaning's our creation based on our software. So that's my sovereignty. I can't argue facts with others around what's real for me, and they can't argue facts with what's real for them. I can only determine what's true for me, same goes for you. And then from that truth, I'll have an emotional connection. It'll connect to some feelings due to my memory and understanding that I've given to that situation, and those feelings largely guide my behavioural response. Now that's the stuff I've written up in black, but the stuff I've written in red, I want to just highlight if you have experienced developmental trauma that's left you with a post-traumatic stress reaction. Now they're still debating this in regards to diagnosis, but I'm a counsellor, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I can use the layman's terms that we'd find in the Webster's dictionary, not the diagnostic terms that you'll find in the diagnostic statistical manual that the psychiatrists use. So what we know about events, if an event happens where instead of it just coming in as data, we notice that it comes in as perceived threat. Now, we're meant to have this perceived threat response because if I'm walking down a bush track and I look down, there's a brown snake, I don't need to know the statistics of a brown snake and how fast it can move. I just need to know that my body now will shift its energy and motivation into survival. And largely, I'm not going to punch a brown snake in the nose unless it's coming at me, I'm trapped and I've got to survive. But I'll jump out of the way, and all my adrenaline and cortisol needs to pump through my body immediately. So I let go, as Dan Siegel really provides a great simple hand model of the brain. That mid part of my brain, my limbic system, just gets rid of my executive thinking. I function from fight, flight, and freeze. So largely, when I'm triggered, that trigger comes in, activates that limbic part of my body, I go straight into survival, and I will fight and flight if the adrenaline and cortisol will pump through me. Now, I will freeze if there's absolutely nothing left, or fight and flight's not working and I pass out, and literally the lower vagal system will stop the heart pumping, it'll lower my heart rate, stops it activating my brain, and I will pass out. And that could be the last. If the bear's eating my leg, my body needs to flood with natural opiates, I need to pass out and survive it, the last course of defense. Pete Walker adds in fawn, that there can be a limbic survival response developed in childhood to survive an oppressive, repressive family system that is debilitating. And I'll talk more about that when I talk about the 4 F's. William James, the author of the Spiritual Experience book quoted in the AA literature, had the quote, "Am I running because I'm afraid, or am I afraid because I'm running?" This limbic response is best summed up as I'm afraid because I'm running. I'm in the response now, and then our executive thinking comes back and we start to interpret it. Now, with that treatment, what we know now, we are blessed with techniques that are helping us deal with that limbic midbrain experience, working from the bottom of the brain up. Now, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I'm an enthusiast, and some of the things I've learned to help people are brain spotting. Now, brain spotting is being championed now by some of the trauma specialists around the world, Gabor Mate, Bessel van der Kolk. Now brain spotting came from EMDR, and largely these techniques deal with the midbrain. TRE, trauma release exercises, goes to the psoas muscle and helps release trauma trapped in the body. SE, somatic experiencing, the tapping therapies in their various different names, all address and go to the midbrain, doing trauma resolution, disconnecting that limbic response and really creating freedom for people. Now, I am a brain spotter. I do have a TRE practice. I'm not TRE trained, so I don't want to mislead anybody, but I have a TRE practice that I teach to clients now. And I'm a radical exposure therapist, which is the tapping therapy taught by Dr. Laurie McKinnon. I find these things really essential to desensitize that button. But I don't believe that it is the be-all and end-all. When you've grown up mentored by people that are dysfunctional, then at a cognitive level, at an emotional level, and at a behavioral level, I still need to address those issues. So in therapy, I mix up the body work and I still use, and I know it's a dirty word for a lot of folks, but I still find that cognitive behavioral therapy can be really useful to help me identify some of the especially the 7 to 17 explicit core beliefs that I might have that are debilitating. Because what happens is they absolutely distort the meanings I give things. So working with cognitive distortions and identifying all of the intellectual defense mechanisms that aren't organic in midbrain, these can be essential to dismantling them. Largely, I find that these, and one of the best tools I find on the market is Pete Walker's book, where he talks about the outer and inner critic, and I will do MOvember videos on this resource. It's on his website, petewalker.com, and you can download the PDFs. But the CBT helps me to identify what are those unconscious memories now stored as beliefs that get activated for me. How, and within these you'll find Bradshaw's work on shame bonds or trauma bonds. These things need to be identified, deconstructed, and dissolved. And so CBT can help us do that and replace those with, replace the impaired thinking with empowered thinking. Also, if you've grown up in the family system around people that disowned their feeling matter, or they either covertly acted out around you and didn't own it, or overtly abused you with it, then you can find yourself not having the resilient skills to be emotionally intelligent enough to process feelings in the moment. When we're shame bound, Bradshaw said that we have the inability to live in our own skin. We cannot act and react spontaneously. And it's that work that CBT can help us with. The other thing is behavioral therapies can be helpful because our responses can be largely unconscious. And so one of the sayings I like is that change is behavioral. Meaning that largely in early recovery, as I do this work, I need sometimes some basic structural change. If I'm an alcoholic, I need to stop drinking. If I'm a gambler, I need to stop gambling. If I'm a porn addict, I need to stop watching porn. These things are largely behavioral in their immediate intervention. And then we can get to the work largely because these things numb us out. It'll interfere with doing the body work. It interferes with doing the cognitive and emotional work. So getting somebody into an active behavioral change can be really useful in early recovery. So that's really it for tonight. I just wanted to lay out Pia's reality model, talk about if we've got developmental trauma, talk about how the body work is essential. You'll cry till you die if you don't do it, And the rest of this I just think, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That the other therapies can be useful as we go along. Take care, talk to you tomorrow, and remember to donate to MOvember.